I did my poster on the Battle of Midway. Now, before we talk about the actual battle and the island of Midway, we're going to talk about the timeline leading up to it. So, it happened from June 3rd, technically June 4th to June 7th, 1942. But in 1929, it was the start of the Great Depression, and that went on for 10 years to 1939. But it said that it was the end of the Great Depression, but it still tackled on for a couple years. Now, Pearl Harbor happened in 1941, just 2 years after the Great Depression, but America was still a sleeping giant when they attacked Pearl Harbor. So Japan had no idea what they were starting when they decided to attack Pearl Harbor, which had half or nearly all of our naval fleet, and we were just there sitting ducks. We thought nobody knew about us, but Yamamoto, the Japanese leader or Japanese military leader, caught wind and decided to launch a surprise attack on that Pearl Harbor, that naval air base. So when they launched the attack, they awoke a sleeping giant. We had all these sitting factories that were going to be made for uh, rebuilding all of our ships that were destroyed. 8 of our battleships were uh, damaged. 2 of them were completely destroyed, and the other 6 were just heavily damaged. But we were able to do some repairs, and they were able to help us on the defense of Midway. So about 6 months after, or actually right after the Pearl Harbor attack, we caught wind of China. We figured out and kind of were plotting where they're going to do their next attack. Japan is like the best. They have the best naval fleet right now, and they have not lost a naval battle in the past 50 years. So they are strong in taking over area. Japan is just this little area right here, but they have managed to take over all of this in just the past couple months. Now, we caught wind in about 6 months. They're going to be expanding and trying to take over all of this. Now, in 6 months is not a lot of time to repair your entire naval fleet and defend an island. Now, they weren't they weren't sending, Japan wasn't sending all their naval fleet to Midway. They were sending it and dispersing it out because they have a huge naval fleet. They were just dispersing it out along the way. Now, they weren't expecting any major battle over Midway because it was just a small island. They just launched an attack on the United States. Now, there's no they were expecting no like struggles getting there, so we knew we had to do everything that we can and surprise them and trap them in. Now, on June 3rd, we launched the first bomber from the air base of Midway. Now, Midway it wasn't big. It was small. It was basically just a couple airstrips in space to store a couple little naval ships and vessels and stuff. Now, this was huge. This was a huge piece of land for us because if we lose this, we're losing a huge advantage because it's right in the middle. It's a little bit closer to the United States, but it's kind of like right in the middle of Asia and the United States. It's right off the coast of Hawaii. Now, if they get this, they're getting some ground that would be a huge advantage to them in the future, and it's right next door to Hawaii. So now, if they get this, They had an advantage, and we're losing another naval air base. But the first attack on June 3rd, we launched one bomber from Midway, and that was kind of an ineffective attack. It didn't do anything significant. Then the next morning at 4:30, Japan launched its first attack. Now, they had four aircraft carriers for their planes, and we took out three of them, and later we took out the fourth. But with us coming back from losing almost all of our naval air fleet, it was it was crazy because we were going against the best of the best at the time, and we were using ships that weren't even fully uh, repaired. They were held together by pieces of lumber. It wasn't even actual steel and stuff. They did whatever they could just to get a ship that would stay afloat and launch a couple ships and a couple missiles. So we stationed all of our ships kind of outside of it, outside, like on the outskirts of Midway, and let Japan come in, and then we surrounded them and cornered them and did all that we could to destroy them. So Japan, they didn't put all that they could on Midway. They did disperse it out, so their weaker sections were on Midway because they weren't expecting anything like what we were doing. They weren't expecting six battleships and all of that. So they did heavily damage the air base, but however, they did not take it over, and they did not neutralize Midway. We just at this point we had just taken out, or Japan has just lost one of their like naval battles in a long time, and this is huge for America because we were bombed by them. 6 months later, we come back with like half working vessels that aren't even able to fully function, and we take down some of the best Japanese, and we later go on, and the World War ends in our favor.